name?
McLaughlin.
Okay, that's how I was saying it. But then when
Yeah.
I was reading it, I was like, I don't know if I'm saying it
Oh,
right.
I get so many variations. McLaughlin, McCulkin, which, I mean, you're thinking you're like, there's not even those letters in it, but yeah, okay.
My before I got married, my last name was Graytalk, and it's spelled like Graytok, and people would just Graytoke, or they would just add letters to it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think you're spelling it right.
Yeah, people are like, yeah, not quite the way we want it. But
So I upgraded with Fox.
yeah.
Most people don't mess it up, other than if they think I say socks. I did try
Surely
and go
that's
get a hotel.
surely just
I went to
wasn't
go
the
get,
surname that made you get married.
yeah. Well, I made a hotel reservation once, and I went to go check in, and she's like, "I don't have anything for you," and I was like, "I made a reservation. Like, I know I did. Like,"
Yeah.
and she finally found me because they had put me underneath socks. So, anyways, um, well, welcome everybody to another month of education. So Scott McLaughlin is going to go over some jerk and snatch programming or biathlon programming. I think this is the first one we've done on programming, actually.
Oh, cool.
So thank you for coming on.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
Um, so you can kind of, I will go through and any questions I'll field off of Facebook, so you won't have to worry
Yeah.
about that. And then you can kind of just start wherever you like. If you want to talk about your background first, and how
Yeah,
you got
sure.
into kettlebell sport.
It was so myself and my friend, we were both personal trainers, and he had sent me a message one day saying, "Ah, you ever tried kettlebells?" I'm thinking, kettle what? Never heard of them. This was back in, I think, 2009. And I thought, yep, here's a link for kettlebell, ordered a 16 kilo. Try some swings. So I tried 100 swings and I couldn't walk for 5 days. I thought, wow, this is something different. And from there, that's where the love and the kind of curiosity into kettlebells got me. About 6 months later, I signed up for a training course to become an instructor. Um, and then one day, I heard about this horrible, horrible invention called kettlebell sport. I thought, oh, there's a sport. I've competed in lots of sports over my years, and I thought, this sounds good. Um, Looked up the form online, and it says, oh, you can like 65 reps for Master of Sport. I think it was under WKC.
So what event were you doing? Long cycle,
I started
biathlon?
off, originally it was going to be biathlon, and I had looked on the World Kettlebell Club website, and it's Master of Sport. I thought, oh, that sounds nice. 65 reps with a 32. Oh, cool. So I went in the gym the next day. I went in the gym the next day and I got my 32. And I managed to, I think I'd done about 20, 25 jerks. And I was like, oh, I can train for that. And then I went back online later that night and looked at it and went, oh, it's two 32s. It's two kettlebells. Wow. Went back to the gym the next day, tried two 32s, and I managed 3 reps. And at that point, I thought, whoa, this is a whole new level. Um, so that was me addicted. I
The
started.
humbling is what got you
Oh
addicted.
yeah, more like a severe ass kicking was what it was. I'm like, wow, I can't believe how difficult this is. My legs were in fire, my arms were dying, I couldn't breathe. I thought, I need to beat this. There's no way that I can be. How can there be like this target up here, and I am so way below that? Oh no, I need to try and at least get close to that. And that's where my kind of competitiveness kicked in. I thought I need to try and get those numbers, and so I started looking at videos online of people training and came across kind of Valery Fedorenko's training methods, and just started watching videos and trying to learn the technique that way. Um, my first competition, so that would have been around 2011, near about the end of it, and then we'd heard that there was going to be the first kettlebell sport competition in the UK held by Wilverson Fitness down in Wolverhampton in England, and I'm okay, we'll enter. It was long cycle, so I thought, okay, we'll try that, and it was on double 16s. So I trained for it for 3 months and went down and got 100, and I think it was 115 or 120 reps, and thought it was absolutely horrendous. I thought, oh, no, don't like long cycle, but if that's all we're having as a competition, yeah, we'll train that. So that was in February. Then in the April, there was a 20 kilo long cycle competition in Glasgow, which was thankfully my hometown. So that was really nice, not far to travel. And I think I got 90, it was 92 or 97 reps. Long cycle double 20s, my first competition on that. And I was thinking, why is there not biathlon competition? Because my focus was jerk, and I just loved snatch. I love snatch training. And all of a sudden, there were then going to be the first Scottish Championships up in Aberdeen at the end of June. So I trained 20 kilo biathlon for that. I think it was 127 jerks and 202 snatch in that competition. Then we're going to in August, go to Ireland to compete in the Irish Championships. And the first competition there was on 28k biathlon. And I think I finished about 65 jerks and roughly about 118 snatch for the 28. Came back from that 3 weeks later in Glasgow again. There was a fitness exhibition at the big games hall, Kelvin Hall, and competed in 24 kilo biathlon there. That was only a 7-minute competition, and I think I got about 115 jerks, and then I think close to about 140 snatches, if I remember right. And then all of a sudden there was the World Championships under the IGSF in Italy later that year in the October. I thought, oh, let's go for that. And I trained onto the 32s. I was the first person in Scotland to compete professionally in the male division, professionally on 32s back in 2012. I hit the 10 minutes, and I think I hit about 65 reps and then about 105 snatch. And that was also my first competition from the February was in 16s, and then by October I was on the 32s. So it was a very, very quick progression.
And so for anybody who isn't doesn't do kettlebell sport, long cycle 12 reps per minute is kind of max pace,
Yeah.
and really about 15 to 18, especially at professional level weights, is like going to be like the max pace that somebody can keep. So I mean, honestly, even your first competition going in and doing 8 reps a minute with the 20s is pretty fast, honestly. So I think we got started about the same time, because I started doing kettlebell about a year or so before my son was born. So, and he was in 2000. Oh, yeah, that would be 2011-ish. Yeah. So what got you, like, at what point did you start coaching and moving into that realm?
Kind of coaching started with a kind of fitness class in my gym, and we were kind of doing kettlebell fitness. And all of a sudden we found out competitions, and a few other people were like, oh, that sounds quite interesting. So there was myself, Linda, girl, Laura White, who just competed at the European Championships, Abigail Johnston. So she hated kettlebells when I first introduced them, because I was originally her martial art instructor. And I was like, oh no, kettlebell training, it's really, really good for martial arts. And for weeks and months, and I think almost a year, she's like, no, I hate it. And now look at where Abby is.
Yeah, that's
So
really hilarious that
yeah,
she disliked it so much, because she is so good. I
she's
mean,
phenomenal. Yeah.
yeah, she's a great person and a really awesome athlete. Um, so when did I go? trying to think what year we went to Aberdeen and we competed in that competition. Usually I use my husband for this because you were spouting off dates and I was like, I could never do that.
I think it might have been 2019.
So, yeah, I just when we came over for that competition, we had gotten stuck in the Frankfurt airport like the night before, and so we were in Frankfurt for like 24 hours because there was like a hole in the on the flight line, and so the aircraft couldn't land or something. So we waited all night, but we couldn't get a hotel because there was a fair or something going on in Frankfurt. So we had to sleep in the airport. Next day we came back, got to Aberdeen. I slept for a couple of hours, and when I went and did that competition, I just felt so messed up from not sleeping, and
I bet.
it was a rough competition. My heart rate was like at 170 like the whole time, even when I first started. So
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, competitions are bad enough, never mind having no sleep.
okay, so when you are starting to program for somebody, like kind of what's your basis on how you get them going on, deciding what their program's going to be, and what do you usually start the focus on?
Okay, so first thing first, I'll look at the actual athlete as an individual. I like to find out really who they are as a person, find out what their background is. It could be someone that's never really exercised much and they're starting fresh. So for me, their training age is 0. Or you might have somebody that they're coming from a CrossFit background, or they were a competitive rower or a runner. So they might have been training in other sports for 5, 10, 15 years. So they've got a much higher kind of training age in terms of their body's a lot fitter, a lot stronger. They might have more understanding in terms of how to move their body, certain positions. We'll discuss how many days a week they can train. Some people can only train twice a week. Some people can train 5, 6 days a week. One thing I like to find out from my own personal experiences, if they've got children, because anybody that's got children knows that anytime as soon as you sign up for a competition, your children are going to get sick. They're going to be up all night. They're just going to suck all the life out of you in terms of your energy, just in that important phase of training for a competition. And then all of a sudden you compete and you feel fit and healthy again. But so I like to find out the kind of lifestyle of the athlete. It plays a massive role because you could have two people that are identical athletes in terms of their training program, but one doesn't recover as well because they've got a more manual job, and someone else might have a more kind of sedentary job. So I think for me, it's important to find out about the person first. From there, we'll discuss their goals, really finding out what it is they want to do, what excites them. I'll look at where they are in their current, if they're already training, I'll look at their current performance in terms of their technique and their videos. I'll look at their previous their best results, but also their most kind of recent results. Because I've had people before say, oh, my best score is say 200 snatch. Okay, when was that? Oh, 3 years ago. Have you trained much snatch recently? No. So although their best was 200, it might be there 3 years ago, but right now it's down here. So we'll discuss that and really find out where they're sitting in terms of their actual current performance level. We'll look at the time frame. So it could be, you could have say 4 months before you've got to compete. I'll then get the calendar out and I'll look at and go, right guys, have you got any birthdays, any holidays, any weekends away? We'll score them out the calendar so we can actually start to see how much availability we actually have for them to train. I've had one guy previously who said, I can train 5 days a week. All right, great. Started making the program. And then he's like, oh, next week I'm away with work for 3 days and I've got no access to kettlebells. Then the following week, myself and my girlfriend were going away for 4 days. And all of a sudden, this 3-month block of having 5 days a week was really down to only 2 weeks where he was actually available to train properly. So we tried to
I
kind of...
think, when you're working with athletes, everybody wants to have a really continual progression. But it does require a lot of sacrifice to make sure you're getting in enough training cycles in order to accomplish that. And if I'm, for me, if I'm not lifting, at least 3 days a week, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's the same, people say, oh yeah, I have. And then, oh, well, yeah, but 4 times a year I have to travel and I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. And you're like, okay, well, you really have to kind of it you really have to pick a style, right, and focus on it for a period of time, because if you flip flop back and forth, because
Yeah.
each jerk programming is a completely different energy system than long cycle, right? When I was trained up to do like 80 something reps long cycle, well, I haven't done long cycle in a couple years. I can still get basically 6 reps a minute, but I can't do 80, right? Like I'm not conditioned for it.
Yeah.
My legs aren't conditioned for it. And so sometimes people, they kind of want to, I know people that want to keep switching. You're like, okay, well, you're
Yeah.
never really going to get really good if you don't get focused on one type of
Yeah.
lift for a little bit at least.
Yeah, if you spread your focus so thin across so many lifts, then you're always going to be kind of Joe average. Whereas I think if you, like you say, if you focus and really focus in on a particular, like if it's going to be a long cycle, focus on that. And then if you want later on in the year, once you've built up a really good level there, you can then switch to biathlon or the marathon lifts. So long as you've spent enough time building up like a solid work capacity at that level. Like you say, people that jump from one to another, like every 3 weeks they're doing a different competition. This week it's half snatch, next week it's biathlon, the week after that it's long cycle. And they're like, yeah, if they want to do that and have fun, and that's it. But if they want really good results and really push to achieving like a really, really high score, then it's got to be that kind of almost singular focus. Yeah, because I know for myself, my focus was biathlon, and I don't think, apart from when I was teaching, I don't think I've done any long cycle reps on over a period of about 4 or 5 years. I would sometimes do long cycle in my training if it was just for kind of general fitness, like kind of GPP stuff. When I trained under Alexander Kostov, he would all every now and then he would throw in some long cycle sets, I think just to really make me suffer. But it was good fun, and it would just be short sets on it just to kind of keep my technique in there. But my focus was 100% biathlon, and because biathlon for me was difficult enough without trying to spread my focus onto other lifts. So that being said, for the lifter, we will pinpoint it into a particular goal. If I think that their goal is achievable, then we'll discuss that and we'll think, yep, this is great, let's go for it. If I think that it's too far out of the reach, we'll have that difficult conversation as well. And what I'll do, I'll explain why to the actual athlete. I'll say to them, listen, you're wanting to hit this number here. Currently, if you want to hit 100 jerks with 232s, can you hit that with 28s? No. Can you hit it with 24s? No. I can't even do it with a pair of 20s. Right, okay. So forget the 32s, the 28s, 24s, let's get them. Let's hit the number with the 16s, then the 20s, 24s, and build yourself up. Because I've seen a lot of lifters that have tried to progress too fast up through the weights. And they think, oh, and big, fit, strong guys, but they've not spent the time working on the technique and working on the efficiency. And then all of a sudden, they try 10 minutes on a pair of 32s and they get injured and their body just breaks down with it. So,
Or they go and they just do like 20 reps and you're like,
yeah,
okay, well, I mean, I guess it's great that you got on the professional weight, but
yeah. For me, I've always tried to explain to people that you don't want to be just hitting 20 reps. Here's a kind of a standard number you want to be aiming for. If it's way below that, you're not ready. If I want to run a marathon, yep, it's great crossing the finish line, but if you had to walk the whole way, you're not running a marathon. You've walked the distance, but you've not run the marathon. You've got to at least run most of it. So
I would be the one walking the marathon, so I hate running.
Yeah, I would rather cycle, swim, paddleboard, kayak 100 miles than run 1 mile. I just don't like it. So with the
I think we're
program,
kindred spirits.
oh, absolutely. Who likes to run? Unless you're running for a bus, you don't need to run for anything else. The for me, the programming side, I would look first at technique. My goal is always to try and build performance on a solid base. I don't want to build fitness on top of somebody's poor technique because they're only going to go so far. And you see that with so many lifters that they'll keep working harder and harder and harder and harder and trying to, okay, if I done 5 minutes jerk today, and the next time I'm going to try 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and they try to increase their volume, but they never ever actually look at their kind of weak links, whether it's their rack position, whether it's their overhead position or their back swing or their hand insertion and snatch. So I'll always, what my kind of philosophy on is always target the weakest link. The biggest thing for me was when I was training 20 kilo biathlon the first time round. I used to always do it on a side rack, and my arms would die around about 4 minutes in. Oh, side rack switch, and I was told, no, you're not allowed to do that anymore. I was like, right, okay, and my
Well,
numbers,
you waste so much energy
yeah,
going back and
and
forth. You're losing rep time. I mean, there's just like,
yeah,
but
it was horrible.
there's a lot of people that do it,
Yeah,
but yeah.
so at that time I could do about 85 jerks with 220s, and that was switching from side to side, and it was just horrible. So I made the deal. If I have to rack like that, that's my set over. Bells are down, and I spent 4 weeks focusing just on my flexibility for my rack position, and then I went from about 85 jerks to 127 2 weeks later, in the competition, just because I was saving so much energy. It was so much more efficient. My elbows could rest on my hips. It felt great. My legs were fresh. My shoulders were fresh. Um, and it was, for me, that was the first game changer. Um, Same for the overhead position. If like I had really tight lats from doing a lot of kind of boxing and martial arts, and then as soon as I started working and getting a better overhead position, I found that I could do 10 minutes and I'd come off and my arms felt fresh. I didn't. I could. My arms, my shoulders, they weren't tired.
This
Whereas
isn't a
previously,
technique session, but I do know a lot of people have issues with getting into the proper rack position.
yeah,
And that's never really been an issue for me. I think because I'm just more mobile as a woman. Um, but I see a lot of men that really struggle to get into the like a proper kind of rounded position to get their arms in front of them. So what did you do specifically that really helped you loosen up your lats to be able to get yourself into a good rack position? Because for jerk is that's like probably one of the most important things because
yeah,
that's the only position.
that's the only.
Like in long cycle, you get to swing again and you can fix
Yeah, you get
your
that release and
positioning.
then you come back in. Yeah. So only a couple of stretches. I would do the kind of seal raise stretch. So I was lying face down on the floor, hands on the floor, and just lifting the back up. And do the plow stretch. So basically, I would go from the two extremes. Then I would lie on my back, legs all the way over. There's plow stretch there, seal raise stretch. Sometimes I'd hang on to a squat rack and just round my back and get the big stretch on it, and some rack holds. I was never a big fan of rack holds because I thought kettlebell sport's a cyclical sport. You want to keep moving rather than being stationary for too long. But after my sets, I would spend a minute or two just working because I think guys, especially, will clean the weights up and then they hold all that tension. They're really, really stiff and tight. And what I practice doing is just breathing and relaxing. And it was a thing that Sergey Rudnev taught me always about, just that kind of relax the shoulders, just move the fingers, and just everything should feel soft and relaxed. You shouldn't be tense there because that's your rest position. So that was the biggest game changer for me, with just those kind of 2 to 3 stretches, and that was doing them every single day before training and then as part of my cool down as well.
Sorry, I was just looking through on the face of books, the books of faces, to make sure we didn't have any more questions. So So continuing on, sorry, I got us off track talking about technique, but continuing on on the programming side. So you go through, figure out what their background is, and then how would you try and organize how many days a week they're lifting,
Uh, Generally speaking, we'll get people lifting 2 to 3 days a week. For most people, especially beginners, twice a week, just because the demands on their body, they need longer to recover. We'll have them training on other days, but for kettlebells, it was just twice a week. Once they're a bit more experienced, I would get them up to 3 days a week. Because the early phases found that a lot of people they'd start to get pressure sores on their wrist, or just their body felt beat up and broken from the kind of demands of the sport. So I would look at the lifters, like I know we spoke about technique. If they can't get the rack position or the overhead position, we would do short training sets, and then we would focus more on addressing those weak links. As that progressed, we would start to shift the balance round into more kettlebell training once our body became more conditioned to it. My general method for jerk is 3 sets. It would be 2 short sets of 2 to 3 minutes, and then a longer set of between 4 and 6 minutes. I would normally go at a fast pace at the competition weight for the first 2 sets, and then go slightly lighter for the longer set where they're already fatigued, but so it's going to make the lighter weight still feel challenging, but it's light enough that they can still get through the set. They can work on building kind of longer endurance, they feel better with it, and they can use it more as a fast technical set without that kind of crushing feeling of the competition weight. So we would normally start 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, and then 4 minutes. And then the next session, it would be 2 minutes, 15 seconds for the sets, and say 4.5 minutes. So every session, I would just try to sneak in an extra 15 to 30 seconds. 15 seconds on the shorter sets for the heavier weights, and 30 seconds to a minute for the longer, lighter sets. Just so that, found psychologically, a lot of people, if they know, I've done 2 minutes, when it comes to the next day, an extra 15 seconds, that's easy. So it was always it's just 15 seconds more. I can just do that little bit extra. And we always found that once you started sneaking that little bit into the training, it's only an extra 15 seconds. I've done that. Then the previous week, 2 minutes 15 is your starting point this week. So by the end of the week, they'll up to say 2 minutes 30, 2 minutes 45. And then by week 3, they're up to the 3 minute mark. And all of a sudden, the 3 minute feels much easier. I like the fast, light, kind of longer sets, because I'll usually see where their technique starts to deteriorate. So I had one guy who was complaining he'd never ever really trained jerk. He'd done it for a couple of 5 minute competitions, and I'm like, out of curiosity, what do you not like about it? And he went, my arms die. And I went, okay, we can fix that easy. We need to use your legs. And it was, I went, right, we're going to do 10 sets of 1 minute on, 1 minute off, but I want you to be jerking at 20 reps a minute. And he's like, sorry, what? Yeah, 20 reps a minute, 10 rounds, but 1 minute on, 1 minute off. And I want you to report back on how it feels. And the most he'd never ever managed 5 minutes on double 16s before. And what was really cool was within 4 weeks, he managed 10 minutes on double 16s. Just because in that first session of doing the 20 reps a minute for 10 minutes or 10 rounds, the first report back was, my arms were absolutely killing me. Good, you're using your arms too much, you're not getting a deep enough second dip. Next session, my arms only started to hurt the last 4 rounds. Next week, by week 3, my legs are dying. Good, now you're using your legs. By week 4, my legs are starting to feel good, my arms felt great. Gave him a 10-minute test set and over 100 reps in his first ever 10-minute set. Just because we used that kind of those shorter sets just to really drill the technique, because he's bigger, fitter, faster, stronger than me. And I'm like, you can without a doubt destroy my numbers easy. And he's like, you think? And I went, yeah. You just need to make sure you're using the right muscles for the right job. And once he got his legs going, he was flying.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people don't take into consideration how wearing um, poor technique and sometimes it's just really small fixes
Yeah.
can have on your set, and it's even things as little as like relaxing your face, because that's taking the tension out of your neck. Like, I mean, and when you see people struggling during a set and they're really tense and you're like, gosh, you're losing so many reps because you're using so much more energy just in you're just standing there using more energy, and it's, you're not even lifting the bell right now. And so those little technique changes, making sure their under squat is fast enough so they're not effectively just push pressing, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh well, I'm like, well, technically, yeah, you're kind of jerking, but really you're hiding it and you're actually push pressing.
Very well masked. Yeah. The I was going to say in terms of, like, say, those techniques, one thing I'll explain to a lifter is, if in a 10-minute set their goal is to lift, the total volume is going to be 10,000 kilos, and I've got that right. Okay, if you do an extra shrug, that's an extra 10,000 kilos. If you do a if you press it out, you're pressing an extra 10,000 kilos. And it's, you break the lift down to all the little bits people do when they clean the bells up. Oh, an extra shrug. Oh, they press. They don't lock out. They do that little press out. Or they do a little bob before, like a mini first dip, and then go into the first dip.
Mm-hmm.
It's an extra. And before they know it, I mean, from you wanting to lift 10,000 kilos in 10 minutes, you've now lifted 50,000 kilos, and you see a lot of people, that light bulb moment going, oh, I mean, how good do you think that would feel if you started to tidy up your technique and remove all those little bits? And we'll spend 1 week at a time on each area. So it might be week one, we're going to work on this shuffle when they land back in rack. If they say that either whatever they're landing and then bringing it in, well, that right, your focus this week isn't reps, it's removing that extra shuffle. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the training isn't about the time of the reps, it's about just polishing up their technique. And then at the end of the week, we'll do a previous set that they might have struggled with. Say it was at even just 4 minutes. And all of a sudden, how did that feel? Oh, that felt great. Good. You're now a lot more efficient. So we've not had to work on your fitness. We've actually just worked on cleaning things up, and now you can achieve more. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's one guy who I knew when he was training 32s at the same time as myself. And when he was doing his own kind of training, he was also working on doing really heavy presses all the time. And I think he managed 40 jerks with 232s. And he was quite happy about it. And I went, you're focusing too much on your arms. You need to get your legs going. And he went, but how much pressing do you do? And I went, I'm terrible at pressing. Now, my best on 32s was 104 jerks in 10 minutes. And at that point in time, I couldn't press a 24. I couldn't press one single 24. But my
People ask
legs,
me that, they're like, how much can you? I was like, I can barely press the 24 overhead, maybe just a couple times at
yeah,
most, because I mean, I got pretty good size arms, but my upper body isn't that strong. I'm able to jerk a lot of reps because my legs are really strong,
yeah,
that, my legs are conditioned because that's really where everything's really coming from.
yeah.
So when you're setting up a program for somebody, and let's say they're doing biathlon, um, how often are you having them snatch? How often are you having them jerk?
Um, for me, they will do th ideally 3 sessions a week on both, and I'll always try to replicate snatch. I'll do jerk first and then snatch in their training, because very rarely, most competitions you'll find they will be doing jerk then snatch in the same day. With introduction of the kind of triathlon now in some competitions, where you'll do jerk one day, snatch the next day, and then long cycle on the last day, for example, then we'll change the programming then. But if it's a kind of traditional lift of doing biathlon in the one day, we'll get them training the same session. I tried separating my jerk and snatch in my own training, and then I found when I combined it in the same day, I was like, I've been used to having a full night's sleep and coming in fresh and doing my snatch set, but now I'm having to lift after doing 10 minutes jerk. I'm absolutely exhausted. And I found my kind of focus wandering and just my performance dipped. So I went back to training, jerk, then snatch. What I would tend to do is if session one would be heavy on jerk, but light on snatch. And then the next session, session two, would be lighter on jerk, heavier on snatch. And then the third session would be, we're going to be heavy on both to kind of replicate that competition day. So I've got a model that I've been working with recently. I used this on Laura and Lynn there. Laura's just won gold at the European Championships on 16 kilo snatch. And then Laura and Lynn both won another 2 gold medals each on long cycle and military snatch. And so yesterday at the European Grand Prix down in Paris. So it was the first time putting them through this type of model where I'm really just trying to work at this 80% effort. Lynn's 71, so taking her age into consideration, while she's a phenomenal athlete, we've got to kind of remember that she's 71, so her recovery is not going to be the same as somebody in their 20s or 30s. Laura as well. Laura likes to do a lot of kind of cycling, spin classes during the week. So, and her new job's basically quite intensive as well. So, kind of got to take that into consideration. So when I was programming, what we're going to do is your kettlebell training on a Tuesday will be really kind of hard sets, but then your conditioning work, you're going to work at 80%. Then your kettlebell sets on the Thursday, they're going to be quite easy, but we're going to go harder on your kind of general fitness, and we would flip those two about. And then what we do is I would have a kind of like a flexible session on the Saturday where I would have a plan. I'd always have plan B as the main plan for her. And people would laugh and go, "We're not plan A." And I went, "No." Because when she came in the gym at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, I'd ask her, "How are you feeling?" And she'd like, "I'll let you know once I warm up." So she warms up. "Yeah, oh, I'm feeling really good." Good. She gets upgraded to plan A. So it might be a slightly harder, more intensive plan. Or if she comes in, she'll like, "Oh, I have not slept well. My back's stiff, or my husband's been up snoring all night. I'm just exhausted today." Good. We'll kind of downgrade to plan C and we'll work more technical, shorter sets there so that the athlete can still get a really good workout in. They can still work towards their goals, but it's not leaving them absolutely broken to the point of exhaustion and A, taking the fun out of it and B, hindering their progress. Because for myself as well, the more people I work with now are looking at kind of more working them to the maximum recovery load. So if you can't recover from workout A, workout B is already going to be rock bottom. And I think we've all tried to train like the kind of Eastern European bloc where a lot of them they're just wanting to train 6 days a week and like we can't do that. We aren't, but young guys that are in the military that can just eat, sleep and train all day long. We are not them. We've got full-time jobs, we've got children, we've got family members we might be taking care of. So our recovery is totally different from like a young guy in the military or a young girl in the military that's got that ability to recover between all their sessions.
I think people too have to take into consideration, kettlebell, especially when you're first starting out, it's very high volume. No matter if you're doing long cycle biathlon, it's all very high volume in consideration to like how much volume you're lifting when you're doing traditional weight training. And so when people first come in, it takes a pretty big toll on your body when you're doing these sets, even when you're at an amateur level lifting 16s, 12s, because the volume is still quite high in
Yeah,
comparison to what you're used to. And I found, especially when I first started, I kind of had to cut out a lot of my heavier lifting because it was really just too much,
yeah,
along with me trying to lift 24s. But then once I had progressed and I was used to having this very high volume, when I added back in, heavy weight training, it didn't affect me at all because the weight training is so much less volume than my kettlebell training is. They're like, "Well, don't you get sore?" And I'm like, honestly, I don't really, unless I do something that's very different from what I'm normally doing.
yeah,
And so I think it's important for people who are just starting out that sometimes you have to take a little step back kind of to take a step forward. And when I took out that weight training, I progressed a lot faster
Yeah.
because, and then I was able to add it back in later.
I know from my own training, when I was training for 32K biathlon, a lot of my program, it would be kettlebells Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, a Tuesday and Thursday with a 10K run. And I've just found that by coming to the session on the Friday or Saturday, I had nothing in the tank. And I think about through a 3 month period where I never hit a single time set or rep range or rep target in those training sets, and it was affecting me psychologically. And I thought, right, okay, let's remove the runs. It's not my cardio that's beating me. I had a good engine. Came from a background in different sports, martial arts, and I did have a good kind of base fitness level. So I thought I don't need that cardio. I removed the runs, and all of a sudden the Friday session felt like a Monday session. It felt great. All of a sudden Saturdays didn't feel so tough. They felt quite good. I was hitting some numbers. I then got to the point where I thought, I'm still feeling a little bit beat up and stiff, and it's affecting my numbers and the quality of movement. Um, I couldn't remember a Saturday session where I didn't feel achy. And what I then done was I removed the Saturday session and just went 3 days a week. And all of a sudden, my numbers just from going along here just jumped up again. And I found that especially with Snatch. So much now when I do my own Snatch prep, when I train a program for Snatch for myself, I only do it 2 days a week. And what I'll do is, to give people an example, when I trained on 40 kilo Snatch there, I'd seen the WAKSC, the Ket Academy, kettlebell ranks for the 5 minute snatch with the 40 Master Sport World Class. I think it was 76 reps with the 40. And I thought, let's try for that. So I picked up the bell back in November and I managed 5 reps each side. And I was like, wow, this is giving me the beating of my life. And it's so much.
For Snatch especially, it's so crazy, like how much is going up, even just 2 kilograms. And you're
Yeah,
like, shit, I just did 140 reps and then I added 2 kilograms and now I can only do 70. It's not quite that drastic, but it is significant on your grip strength.
yeah. And so the first week I thought, right, I'm going to train this. Okay, I managed 5 reps each side. I'm just going to do a couple of sets of 3 reps each side. And then I'm going to try it again 2 days later and then on again on the third day. And by the time it came to the third day, I was like, I have got nothing left. My nervous system was fried, just obviously jumping up from like 24s and 32s up to 40 now. It was a massive leap. And I was like, wow, this is really draining the life out of me. So the next week I thought, I'm going to just do twice a week. I'm going to do my first snatch set on a Tuesday, and then I'm going to at least wait until the Thursday or maybe the Friday and just gauge how I feel from my recovery and go from there. And I was kind of working at that 80% effort. So if I could only manage 5 reps, I started just training blocks of 4, and that was always much better. I thought that feels good. That's okay. I don't feel exhausted the next day. And then by week 3, I was doing the 2 sessions a week and always just working at that 80%. My rule was never go to dead snatch. And within 4 weeks, I had went from struggling to do 5 each hand up to I managed to get 31 or 32 each hand. Sorry, no, 35, sorry, each hand I managed to go up to. And I thought, that's worked well. Right, where do we need to go from there? I need to work on a bit more conditioning now. So for the next 4 weeks, I would do those shorter sets, about 15 to 21 reps per hand. And that was roughly about a 4 minute set. I thought, I know I can hit the 5 minutes. I know I can hit the targets reps for Master Sport World Class in it. But if I do that, I'm going to be exhausted for a week. So I'm going to set at that kind of 4 minute mark where it's, like say, you can have a really good session, but you're going to recover okay from it and not be sore. And finish that 4 minute set, 2 minute rest, and then I would drop down to a 22 or a 24 and work at a fast pace of 22 to 24 reps a minute. And it felt so nice. See, in comparison to the 40, it just felt so Nice. And that allowed me just to work on my technique, building up the kind of work capacity in the engine, and just kind of again challenge my grip in a slightly different way from going from that really heavy weight to that kind of much lighter weight. And I found that my grip, just by doing it twice a week, felt so much better.
So if you're looking at just, kind of snatch programming, um, how many heavy sets a week were you usually programming for your students? Kind of length of time for those sets on average?
Um, Generally we do 3 sessions a week. In terms of heavy training, the I would work them between 2.5 to 3 minutes per hand. If this is based on people going for the traditional 10 minutes with the one hand change. So 2.5 to 3 minute mark per hand was roughly the kind of sweet spot where I wanted them to work at a faster pace. And my reason behind that was always when you go to competition, if you're aiming for 15 reps a minute, but your nerves are going, it's going to feel as if you're doing 20 reps a minute. So you might as well train at 20. So then when you come to competition, you snatch at 15 reps a minute, you think, oh, this is really slow. This is really slow. It's really nice. Um, so I always try to work people faster than what they want to compete at, unless, like say, that kind of 12 RPM for long cycle and that kind of 18 to 20 reps a minute on snatch is kind of maximum limits. Unless they're at that maximum limit, in which case we'll move up a bell weight and try to push them there. But I would like to generally have them doing, oh, um, one set of 2.5 to 3 minutes per hand, then have a few minutes rest, and then go to a lighter set and go for either the same time or 30 seconds longer each hand, again at a faster pace. And for me, the key is not getting them to the point where their technique deteriorates. It's always just keeping really good, solid technique. The moment they have to dead snatch and they're kind of clawing the bell up and down, then for me, that's the kind of kill point now. Before, I used to encourage them, like, no, you just keep going. If you've got a 6 minute set, you keep going, even if you're just dropping the bell and pulling up really horrible. And then I noticed that it wasn't working as well as when we actually said, you know what, if you can hit 18 reps a minute at 3 minutes each hand and not have to dead snatch, that's great. We're going to work on that for a couple of weeks till it becomes more comfortable. And then once it feels more comfortable, we're either going to increase the pace or we're going to add on an extra 15 seconds each hand. And I found that's worked really well for the likes of myself, Laura, Lynn, a couple of the guys up in the north of Scotland I've been working with, just working that kind of, again, that 80% effort model where they're getting enough to force change and adaptation, but just short of that maximum effort where it allows them to actually recover, ready for the next session.
There's a pull-up protocol that's kind of similar, where you basically set a timer for 5 minutes and you do a set of however many pull-ups, as long as you don't go to failure. So you're like,
Yeah.
have 1 or 2 reps left in the tank.
Mhm.
Then you rest as long as you feel like you need to rest. You get back up and you do, another set of pull-ups, as many as you feel like you can
Yeah.
do, with 1 or 2 left in the tank. And you do that until, the 5 minutes expires, and you continue that over, a couple weeks. And I've done that pull-up protocol before, and honestly, I did have like pretty big jumps in the number of pull-ups I was able to do in a 5
Yeah.
minute period over 3 or 4 weeks, and how much it increased.
Mhm.
I was also lighter then, so I could pull myself up more.
I know that feeling well myself. Um, for the snatch training, I found that if I gave them too many sets or too long in duration, like at say a 6 minute set followed by a later 10 minute set, sometimes even that was just too much. Over a period of 3-4 weeks, you would start to see that kind of burnout. Whereas, generally speaking, of most sessions would be 2 6 minute blocks. So 3 minutes each hand, short rest, 3 minutes each hand with a lighter weight but going faster. And then people that's all we're doing for snatch. Yep, that's it. Then it was focusing on their other training. For me, the best exercise if you want to improve your snatch is swings. Every time I've done a swing protocol for my training after snatch, my numbers have always went up and went up fast. Um, I've done training programs where you would focus on deadlifts and back squats and single arm rows and all these other exercises, even like on a rowing machine and stuff. But just by adding swings in, my numbers improved. And again, it was taking to the point where you would, like say, that those few reps in reserve. So I'd find a way, say, when I was training the 40, I would drop to the 36 and I would do 4 sets of 30 reps each hand with a 30-second rest. And it was just enough that it wasn't affecting, I could feel it fatiguing my grip, but it wasn't changing my technique. And then I would rest, 30 seconds, recover, back in. And once that felt easy, I'd increase from I'd sometimes start at 20, then 25, 30. And every time it felt good, I can feel that, okay, that doesn't hurt as bad. My grip's improved this week. I would add on 5 more per hand each set. And that was quite literally my model for snatch training was 2 6-minute sets, sometimes shorter, sometimes a little bit longer, but generally speaking, 2 6-minute sets, and then a big block of swings of say 4 sets of 20, starting at 20 per hand, but good high swing, replicating the snatch as much as possible. Short rest periods. Then if you can hit your 20 each side, increase it to 25. Hit that, 30, 35, 40. And then once you can hit 50 each side, move up a weight. And with some really good work with the guys on that. So I found it's a really simple model, and a lot of people, the hardest part is getting their buy-in when they think that's it. I went, yep, 2 snatch sets and some swings. I went, that's it. If they have areas where, for example, they have a particularly weak lower back, then we'll factor in some lower back exercises, or if they're struggling with an overhead position, then we'll factor in flexibility and stability work for their shoulders. So again, we would just go kettlebell training, specific exercise, aka swings, and then we would look at their general fitness training to address their weakest links. And that was really, it's quite a boring but simple model, but it works.
I mean, I do I agree with you. Like I had, for the longest time I was really struggling with snatch. And when I switched to biathlon from long cycle, I really figured like I wouldn't have any trouble because I mean, I'm swinging 2 24-kilogram bells for 80 reps. Like I should be able to do 180 on each side. That should be easy. I'm basically doing a snatch every
Could be.
clean, and it does not equate like that at all. And I think the first snatch competition I did, I was only able to do like 60 reps or something stupid. and and so I was doing a lot of stuff kind of similar to the way I would train long cycle. And I really started seeing improvements when I just simplified what I was doing for snatch. And I just started doing, sets where I was doing, 2 to 3 minutes on each hand. And then normally I would switch from that point to just going back and forth, but never getting to a point, where I'm so fatigued that I have to, do a dead snatch or.
Dead snatch, yeah. No. One
And
other
so
thing,
it's always interesting to see because there's such a wide variation for
yeah,
programming. Dennis he trains totally different
yeah,
than a lot of other people that I've seen, but he's doing these, crazy high numbers. And so it's just interesting to see like people achieving really the same results just with a
yeah.
different style of programming.
I remember in 2016, I went to St. Petersburg for the level 3 instructor course, and it was the likes of Ivan Denisov, Alexander Kostov, Denis Vasiliev, Sergei Rachinsky, Sergei Merkulin, and every single one done the presentation on their program, and it was all different, but they've all produced phenomenal results for themselves and their athletes. And I think for people, it's finding the method. You've got to find the method that works for you, but suits your body type as well. And I think so
I
many
think
people,
when Yeah, I was gonna say, I think when you're starting out, like really like your your growth really is based on, those minute um steps over the line every training cycle. I've always like kept a pretty detailed log spreadsheet of like all my workouts. And so when I go back to repeat a workout, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, last time I did 10,000 kilograms or something. Okay, I need to try and do 10,000 and 100 or something.
Yeah.
Just basically like one extra rep. And sometimes I'll get going and I'll be like, this workout is not going well. Like I'm either tired or whatever. And so I'm dropping weight faster than I did the first time. And so I have to kind of go back and look and be like, okay, how can I figure out where I can win in this workout? Because it's obviously not going better
Yeah.
than I did the first time. But it doesn't mean that I can't make progress in the workout. And so I'll figure out like, okay, well, I didn't survive, 3 times on the 28th this time. So let me see if I can make it one extra round on the 24s. Last time I only did it twice. Let me see if I can win there, you
Yeah.
know?
It's those kind of psychological victories that make a big difference. I think some people have training plans where it's loss after loss after loss after loss, and then they go into competition and they're thinking, I can't do this. And in building up to competition prep, for me, the biggest thing was having that belief in the athlete, knowing that, oh, I can do this. I know I can go on the platform and I know I can hit the time. I just need to control my nerves on the day, and I know it's there. What I'll tend to do is originally I would do like a 7 minute set 5 days before I compete, and I found when I was coached for that method, I didn't recover quick enough. I felt during say for example, I was going to compete on the Friday or the Saturday. If I'd done the 7 minutes on the previous Monday, I found that I feel great. I wish competition was today. Then I realised, wait a minute, I'm peaking at the wrong time here. So what I would do is, rather than that Monday, I would go the previous Monday. So around about 10 to 12 days out, I would do my 7 minute set. And I would go about, if I was aiming for, say for example, when I was aiming for 100 reps on 32s and jerk, I would have to work at 110%. So I had to hit 7 minutes at 11 a minute with good technique. I know if I can hit the 7 minutes at 11 RPM, I know I can do 10 RPM for 10 minutes. And if I could tick that box off 12 days out, it would be enough. Take a few days rest to recover, and then do a few light sessions, just ramp back up. And it worked by just extending that period from that 7 minute set. And I still see a lot of lifters, they seem to do, a lot of them do their best work 5 or 6 days out from a competition, and you're saying, no. You should have done that 3 or 4 days ago, and then a couple of easy sessions, and you'd have peaked perfectly for 10 minutes. And it's a shame to see, but you see a lot of people when they do it 10, 12 days out, they peak perfectly. But again, everybody's different. But I found it, for me personally, and a lot of athletes that I've coached, that worked really, really well for them. And if working at that faster pace, they know, oh man, if I can do that for 7 minutes, if I go slower, I can definitely do 10.
Yeah, when I've had, new clients or new athletes come train with me, they're like, so are we doing any 10-minute sets? I was like, we don't really do 10-minute sets. I was like, if I want to give you a test set, it's going to be 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
I'll give you a 5-minute test set. And if you can go 1 rep per minute faster than your competition pace and you can sprint the last minute,
Yeah.
then you're pretty much ready to do your competition pace.
Mhm.
If you, for example, like let's say you're trying to do 6 reps per minute, they have to survive 7 reps per minute for 4 minutes. And if they can get 8, 9, 10 in that last minute, be like, you should be able to make
Yeah.
your 10-minute set.
Yeah.
Because it's exactly that. Like a 10-minute set is like a 1 rep max on your bench press. Like
Yeah.
it's not doing anything for you, but it is fatiguing you for a number of days after your set. Because it takes a lot out of you to be mentally, physically, to be in it for 10 minutes straight. I mean, you don't go run a marathon every day to train for a marathon.
Yeah. And
So
I find that interesting because a lot of people would think, oh, I need to do 10. The only time I'll give them a 10-minute set in the build up to a competition is if I see that the kind of mental focus isn't quite there in terms of I don't feel 100% confident I can do the 10 minutes. So sometimes they're like, no, okay, we're doing 10 minutes on Saturday. You've got 5 days to prepare. Let's go. But it'll be 4 weeks out. So they've got plenty of time to recover, get their next microcycle of training, and then peak ready for the competition day. But very rarely will I give them 10 minutes. There's maybe only, I think there's only been about 3 people have had to do that in 10 years, 10, 11 years. Kind of coaching for the sport where I've had to give them a 10-minute set just to kind of put the demons to bed, and they go, oh no, okay, I now know I can do it, then that's fine. And because sometimes they need that in order to relax getting into the competition, as opposed to people thinking, oh no, I don't know if I'll be able to do it or not, and then they almost get, then that kind of that horrible 7-minute mark kicks in, and your heart's trying to beat out your chest, your lungs have already climbed out your mouth and ran out the sports hall, and your legs are dying, and it's that little bit of, oh no, I know I can do this. I can just it's not getting any worse. I can keep going. I'll make this. So I think that's a kind of key part of their training.
You talked about this earlier, and this isn't necessarily programming, but for people who are, getting up on the platform, when you're going through a competition, you have so much adrenaline. No matter how many competitions I've gone to, I still always get nervous before I go up. So my heart rate spikes. And so I've always trained to try and get one extra rep in that first minute, because it's like I'm already wasting energy. My heart rate's already spiked. It doesn't really affect my overall performance. And so usually that first minute I'll get one extra rep, and then I'll slide into my actual pace, because you're already there.
Yeah.
So we have about 8 minutes left. Do you want to kind of go through maybe just one workout just a single workout that somebody could go through when they're getting started? Because honestly, a lot of times you could really almost do the same workout every single day. It would get very boring.
It's a
But
bit,
you could do it. You could do it every single day, as long as you're continually, increasing the volume, increasing the intensity. It'd be boring, but you could do it like
but you
that,
can do it and you can get results. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's boring, but it can get the results. So a kind of a typical session would be, obviously we do a mobility warm up, get kind of ready for the kettlebells. We would start doing, say for example, it's going to be biathlon focused, since that's what we're talking about today. I would warm up jerks, all single bells and double bells, all the way up to what was going to last, say 32s. And then I would do, before I do my first proper set, I would do 3 to 4 short bursts of 3 reps. So clean the 32s up and do 3 reps as fast as I can, bells down, 30-second rest. And I would repeat that 2, 3, sometimes 4 times, just to kind of get myself really fired up and get my body kind of primed and ready for it. First set would be 2 minutes at 12 a minute. Again, this is based on a target of 100 reps that I'm aiming for in competition over 10 minutes. So I would work at 120% speed, 120% of my target pace. So that'd be 12 reps a minute, 2 to 3 minute rest. And then on my next set, I would aim to go at 13 a minute, or at least 12, then 13, 12 in the first minute, 13 the next minute. And that's what I'd aim. So I'd always try to do my second set and go slightly faster. Again, that would be like a kind of mini confidence builder, going, oh, I'm already tired, but I can go faster. Good. So you know that's the performance is there. Then take anywhere between a 2 to 4 minute rest, and then it would be a 5-minute set on 24s. And I'd be working at 12 reps a minute, so still that faster pace, but obviously a much lighter load. And my focus there would be technique. It would be, I think, okay, first minute I'm going to focus on overhead position. Second minute I'm going to focus on making sure that when I land back in rack, there's no excess movement, there's no reshuffle. Third minute I'm going to work on my first dip. Fourth minute I'm going to work on just make sure my breathing's nice and relaxed, and just try over those 5 minutes to piece all the kind of technical pieces together and kind of relax into it. After that, short break, say 5 minutes, and then start warming up for snatch. Snatch would probably go at 2.5 minutes each hand, with 2 to 2.5 minutes each hand with the 32, working at 20 reps a minute. So I'd go at the kind of my maximum pace that I can do again. It would just be enough that I'm going to die, but my grip's not hitting dead snatch yet. It's not totally fried. 4 or 5 minute rest, sometimes up to 7 if if I found the set tough. Then do a 3 to 4 minutes per hand with a lighter weight, say the 24, and just working at a slower pace, but just working in technique, just working on my backswing, working on hand insertion. So it's a lower intensity. If I had went with the slower pace on the 32s, I would go faster on the lighter weight. So whatever one I've done, if I've went heavy and fast, I'll go light and slow. If it's light and slow, or heavy and slow, I would go light and fast and just balance the two different intensities out. After that, that's all my kettlebell training done, and then what I would look at would be my general kind of fitness. If I know that, okay, this is going to be more of my kind of snatch focused day, I'm going to spend more time. I'm going to grab the 32 and I'm going to do 4 sets of, say, 50 swings per hand. I'm not really going to, if I'm training for a competition on 32, I'm not going to go above 32s for a swing, but I'm going to start to increase my time. Either if I can peak up to the 50 reps per hand, okay there, I'm going to take that minute's rest per set and drop it down to 45 seconds. Once that feels okay and I'm still maintaining the quality of my reps, I'll drop it down to 30 seconds rest and eventually 15 seconds rest. Once it's there, that's usually when I feel good that I know that, okay, I'm going to be good for my time here with my snatch training. After that, I'll look at just general strength conditioning. I'll look at, okay, if I've worked say for example, I've done squats in the previous session, then this one will be more deadlifts. I'll try if I've got a heavy, I'll try on my jerk session to have a more kind of squat based conditioning, heavy squats into box jumps. So I'll try to get the strength work and then combine it with kind of fast explosive power. It might just be 5 sets of 5 on the back squats supersetted with the 5 sets of, say, 15 to 20 box jumps. So I'm always getting that kind of contrast style training between the heavy and the fast. If I'm going for a heavy snatch session, then I'll go deadlift, but I'll go lighter but kind of higher volume. Just using a straight bar just over that overhand grip, so I want to kind of challenge the grip as well. And I might combine that with like deadlift with chin up, so it's more grip intensive. And then my core work at the end. So a lot of time you see people doing crunches and stuff, and I think no, I like the ab wheel rollouts or dead bugs where we're working on lengthening the body out and kind of like banded rows but while on a side plank. So it's everything that's going to challenge your stability while you're in that top position. So it's replicating that challenging position when you're in overhead lockout. And then normally I would just chuck in some bicep curls for fun, or just pick up just any random exercise. And I always remember,
Curls for the girls. Curls
yep,
for the
absolutely,
girls.
yep.
You got
Got to keep the wife happy. But for me, you have to train. You need to train what you need to train. So you've got to do what you have to do. Like you need to do your kettlebell training. Then you have to do your specific work to improve any weak links. And then you get to do what you want to do. You've always got to add in, if you want to do bicep curls or go on the assault bike or go for a row or grab a pound roll on the mats and do jiu-jitsu for half an hour and beat the crap
I
out of
do
yourself.
hope that you curl in the squat rack though,
Oh, of
right?
course.
Yeah.
While on my phone at the same time. Has to be done. But you've got to have that fun aspect. There's got to be some part of your workout. If there's
Mhm.
Even if it's just one tiny exercise, there's got to be something there that just is good for your soul, puts you in a good mood. The bicep curls might have nothing to do with your kettlebell training, but if you enjoy it and it makes you happy, and you have a laugh with a couple of your pals or friends in the gym, and you think, oh, I'm just gonna. Sometimes oh, you're doing bench press? Okay, I'll just jump in at the end of my session and join one with you. So it's just, there's got to be that fun part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. So where can people go if they're interested in getting some training from you, programming? How do they come find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Scott McLaughlin. I've got my coaching page, which is Scott McLaughlin Performance Training. and I think it's that on Instagram as well, or it might want to just check. I am terrible at advertising for myself.
I did
Um,
share that, or I did tag you, the performance training one in the post I did earlier today. So that
yeah,
is linked in the group.
yeah.
So,
Instagram's SM School, S for Scott, M for McLaughlin Performance Training. That's on Instagram. Really simple.
thanks for that explanation.
Yeah. Do you know the number of people that I've said to SM and they go FM? Going, no. Where did the F come from? And I went S for Scott, M for McLaughlin. But yeah,
Well, hey, I really appreciate you coming on here. I know the people that come on here, they're not getting paid to do this. They're just coming on to, further the kettlebell sport and, share their own knowledge. So I do really appreciate you taking the time out of your day
I
to come do that.
appreciate you guys want me
I
on.
don't, what
So
time is it there?
that is 6 p.m.
Oh, okay, it's not terrible. So
Not too bad. Yes,
your Saturday is almost over.
yeah.
Or it's just getting
My wee
started. So
1-year-old girl will be home soon with my wife. They've been out at the circus today, so we'll be ready for her bath and bedtime.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
like I said, I really appreciate it. I enjoy talking with you. If anybody would like to reach out to Scott, please feel free to do that. You're also welcome to put any questions in the chat and we'll try and get to them and answer
Yeah.
them if they weren't answered here. I think the biggest point of this is that there's a bunch of different options that you can do when you're talking about your kettlebell programming, and there is no one size fits all. A lot of people train way differently than the way I train, differently the way you train,
Yeah.
and they're all getting results. And the biggest thing is that you're consistent, and you're continually challenging yourself to grow. So,
100%.
all right, well, you have a good rest of your day.
You too.
And I guess they're trying to set up for food here for this fundraiser. So bye everyone and have a good weekend.
Very much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.